Joining us next is John Ferguson. John Ferguson is the CEO of Saxon Aerospace and Saxon Unmanned. He went very, very viral this weekend because Joe Rogan shared his clip. John, welcome to the program. John, I'm going to play this clip that went very viral, and then we have time. I want you to just uninterruptedly and freely explain even deeper what happened here. Joe Rogan said this was the first clip about the drones that actually scared him. Play cut 25, please.
So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it.
All right, John, what's going on here?
Well, thank you, Charlie. And by the way, I saw you and Tucker here in Wichita a few months ago, so I really enjoyed
awesome.
that. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that Kansas State University didn't treat you very well. I'm still paying Kate's son. So, I have, a small political footprint, and, you and I know some similar people, and as a manufacturer of unmanned systems, some of the comments and other stories out there that have been done on me in the last couple of days are a little inaccurate. I'm not a government-backed organization or anything like that, but again, I wanted to make sure I made that very clear, but these folks knew that I had ties, or I knew people in elevated positions here in the country, and they wanted me to help them try to get awareness started over this nuclear munition, or this nuclear payload that this guy physically was in a small country in the eastern bloc of Europe. He physically put his hands on this, and he knew that was supposed to be heading to the United States. This guy came back here to the States, and he's like, hey, everybody, there's this stuff going on. Let's do something to raise awareness. Let's stop this thing. And he gained no traction, so he reached out to me and my network, and then I made some phone calls and tried to get a hold of some people, and it just didn't seem to go anywhere. And that was about probably 8 months or so ago. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. And so when I saw these drone videos and I saw the hysteria going on about these drones, and wondering if they were nefarious or if they were Iran's drones or anybody else's, I just felt compelled to do my first ever TikTok video ever. And this happened, but I just wanted to just tell people that, these drones are here. They're there to do a job, and that's it. And the federal government's not going to tell you, any of us, ever, what they're actually doing, So,
and is it in you're speculating that the drones are trying to sniff out radioactive material? And is that been proven to be a successful strategy to find radioactive material before?
It is. We have radioactive material sniffers on our unmanned aircraft. That's absolutely a capability of an unmanned aircraft. And if you look at what these drones are doing, they seem to be there is some conflicting stories, but they seem to be trying to follow, the FAA guidelines. They have nav lights on them. If they had a nefarious intent, then they wouldn't have nav lights on them. But they're concerned about obviously hitting other manned aircraft in such a busy airspace area. but it is a very successful operation, or a very successful capability to be able to detect gases or other materials on the ground. We have what we call methane detection systems, where we mount them on our unmanned aircraft, and we fly along pipelines, and we can very accurately pick out pretty much almost 100% of every single gas leak. Now, these drones are flying at night because they're seem to be flying under cover, and they do not want their um, the shape of the drone to be well known, because then you can track down what manufacturer is actually producing the aircraft, right? So they seem to be following some rules. They're flying at night. There's no reason really to be flying an unmanned aircraft at night unless you have a very specific purpose. Because with a standard camera on a drone, you can't see anything at night unless you're using thermal optics, or some form of sensor like that. They're flying at night also because the winds are down. They're not as aggressive as they are during the day. So, you would get a much more accurate reading at night when you're trying to smell chemicals or some type of gas.
So I have so many questions based on what you are seeing from these videos. Are you able to decipher that they are American-made, American-sourced, and they're not foreign drones? Are there defining configuration characteristics, or is it not clear based on the videos you've seen?
Most of the videos that I have seen are not uh, really very helpful in trying to determine who the very specific manufacturer is. There are some photographs and videos out there of drones flying that just like, yeah, well, we know who that is, right? But I couldn't really give a definitive answer on who specifically is the manufacturer of that aircraft. I don't. I just couldn't give you a very accurate assessment on that. But I do very firmly believe that these are absolutely not nefarious and from another country, without us knowing the reason behind those aircraft. And there's a lot of them.
So, John, let's go through some other hypotheticals. What else could it be? Let's try to challenge the assumption. What other explanations could it be here? And is there any chance that this is just people in hysterics just going bonkers over nothing?
No, I think that people are going absolutely crazy over this thing because of the huge unknown. And if you see in the video, I said this has the potential to be what it actually could be. I know that really doesn't make a lot of sense, but the potential is, if this is a worst case scenario, then I felt compelled, to really just say, hey, look, wait, time out, everybody, time out. These are not nefarious in my eyes. They're not nefarious. And I went over on the second and third video, I went over technically why they're not coming out of the water. They're not coming off of a large vessel off the coast, unless they're a certain type of drone. But I didn't want to spread fear and panic. I just wanted to give a technical expert's opinion on why they are not something that you really need to be concerned about as far as really nefarious intent. It's actually what they're looking for that I think is what we should be concerned about. So again, like as I'd stated before, there's no reason for all of these drones to be flying in this pattern with this many aircraft out there. There's no real reason for that unless you're very specifically looking for something. And that something has to be so damned important that you're going to cause a nationwide, or now a worldwide, uh, hysteria. So I mean, I'm just doing the math. We know that these nuclear warheads came up missing in the 80s. We know that. We know they're out there. They're all over the world. We don't know where the hell they are, right? We know that they're here. We know that we have some here. That's been talked about for years. So I'm just doing the math. The drones have a very specific reason, and it better be a very good reason to cause all of this panic, in the United States. to be flying these drones out there. So again, what they're looking for, I think, has to be very important. And I don't know if it's
So
radioactive. I can't say that, specifically.
yeah, for a layman like myself and most of the audience, if someone were to have a dirty bomb or a remnant of that, does that leave a trail of radioactivity almost definitionally? Or is it a little bit murkier than that?
I am not an expert, but I've been on the phone with a lot of people here lately, and they had one really nice lady said that they probably have U-2 spy planes that were specifically designed, to be searching for this stuff. But I don't know if they would leave some type of a radioactive snail trail. I would say that they're very well contained, because if they are leaving some type of a snail trail, then you're going to have a line of people that are going to have cancer from the whole entire duration of this, the journey of this particular asset. So I don't believe, but I'm not a radioactive, I'm not a nuclear expert. I'm a drone expert. So I would have, if I were to guess, I would say that my hypothesis would be that they would not be leaving a snail trail, but you would have to be over the source in order to find it, because it has to be contained. If it's not contained, then it's a whole new thing, right? It's a whole new scare.
How long has this been going on? Because I kind of rolled my eyes at first at the story, because there's just so much of these stories that end up not manifesting to something worthy of attention. How long has this been going on, and is it ongoing as of last night?
Yeah, it's ongoing. I spoke to the guys last night, and I said, look, we've got to, now that we have the spotlight, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever, we need to follow this through, and we need to get somebody's attention to say, hey, let's work together to go find, what we believe to be is true. That asset was on its way to this country. This guy knows about it. He physically touched it. So, let's work together. Let's find it. It's a very true thing, and this stuff has been going on for decades. Everybody knows about it, in DC, that work on defense and national security.
I think that mystery guy
I'd like to
needs
say
to
they
come
should
forward.
know.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is, again, I don't want people to panic, and if this has been going on for a couple weeks now, you have to wonder. It doesn't quite add up. Doesn't quite add up in my head. All right, John, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.